bones are deteriorating too young. God never meant bones to deteriorate as young as they are deteriorating today. The Hunzas that live in the Himalayan mountains, they're known for their elderly people to live long lives, healthy lives. In fact, they play polo on the back of horses, and sometimes the over 50s play the under 50s, and sometimes the over 50s win. Another game they love is volleyball, and same thing. The over 50s are as fit and as strong as the younger 50s. Their bones are not deteriorating, and they don't drink cow's milk every day. So what I'd like to look at today is, why does osteoporosis happen? Why are bones getting brittle and thin and breaking when people really aren't that old, especially when some of the cultures we see that this is not happening in the bones. So Newton's third law of motion states that to every action there's an equal and an opposite reaction. Why? Why is this happening? To understand why it's happening, we need to look at what bones are made of. And bones are not made of calcium. Bones are made of 12 minerals and 64 trace minerals. What are those minerals? So bones are made of boron, they're made of calcium, they're also made of chromium and iron, magnesium, manganese, selenium, silica and sulfur, and potassium, phosphorus and zinc. This is what bones are made of, and 64 trace. In his book The Calcium Lie, Dr. Robert Thompson, his story is very interesting. He was a GP getting frustrated because people weren't getting better. Drug medication just seemed to manage. It didn't heal people. And I do find some of the doctor friends I have, they said it is very frustrating because they realise that drug medication is not healing people. It can bring relief, it certainly can bring relief, but it doesn't heal. And we know that drugs don't heal disease, they just change the form and location of disease. And remember, we're not talking about a crisis. Drugs certainly can save a life in a crisis. Now we're talking about disease. So Dr. Robert Thompson was very challenged by this. He was thinking of changing professions, but 7 years is a long time and a lot of money to just throw it away. So he did a nutrition course. And when he studied nutrition, his eyes were opened. He said in his book, we learn this in med school, but it's sort of just touched on lightly. And I don't really agree with the way exams happen today. It's like cramming the information in just to basically produce it in an exam. No, bones are not made of calcium. They're made of 64 trace minerals and 12 main minerals. And Dr. Robert Thompson, in his book, he says he thinks the clearest indicator of a creator God is seawater, because seawater is the exact same mineral balance and proportion as is found in the bones, in the tissues, in the blood. It's called an isotonic solution because it's the same mineral balance and proportion as is found in the blood. So we're going to make a list of what bones need. And I'd encourage everyone to get the book The Calcium Lie, because he really opens your eyes on what the body's made of and what it needs. So it's not rocket science that that's what bones need, right there. So where are we going to find that? We will find it in Celtic salt. Yes, the good news is you don't have to drink seawater. There's no need to drink seawater, and we don't want to drink seawater. It's not very nice. Doesn't it make you go mad? Well, in the sailor's manual, they are told that if they get shipwrecked, to start sipping water straight away, and that, the seawater, and that will keep them alive for many days. But if they don't drink any seawater for 3 days, then drink a whole cup, it causes a massive imbalance in the body because they are now dehydrated and this mineral rich concentration has just come in, yes, that will cause them to go mad. So little by little, it can keep them alive. And did you know that in the war, the Navy used to transfuse with seawater? So the Celtic salt. Seawater has 92 minerals, Celtic salt has 82 minerals. What about the Himalayan salt? The Himalayan salt is fairly close at 75 minerals, but personally I like the Celtic salt. It's a very moist salt, and it's a moist salt because it has 3 magnesiums in it, and magnesium is a water-hungry molecule, so it basically draws the moisture into it. So we will find this in Celtic salt. Dr. Robert Thompson says at crystal of Celtic salt, on your tongue, give it a little chew before every glass of water. What it does is replace the minerals you lost yesterday. Where do we lose the minerals? We lose the minerals when we perspire. We lose the minerals when we cry. We lose the minerals every time we urinate, every time we go to the bathroom. So the waste that's coming out of the body is all salty. And I think we know that, so we need to replace those minerals. Certainly put it on your potatoes, but what about if you've got high blood pressure? Shouldn't you stop salt? You should stop sodium chloride. Sodium chloride, that's what table salt's made out of. It's only 2 minerals. And of the 92 minerals in seawater, 30% is sodium, 50% is chloride. So the first crystals formed are sodium chloride. So what man does is he scoops that up, bleaches it white, puts aluminium with it, and there's your table salt. Table salt is an imbalanced salt. Table salt will cause an imbalance, especially in and out of the cell. That causes the blood pressure to rise. We need to take salt into our body the way it was found in nature, which of course is with all of its minerals. The other place you'll find minerals in that balance is dark green leafy vegetables. And if you don't eat dark green leafy vegetables every day, you really should be having a dose of green barley, or barley greens, or super greens, or even chlorophyll. Personally, I'd rather eat a great big green salad every day. I've got some good news too. When you cook your greens, you don't lose the minerals. You will lose them if you throw the water away, so make sure you keep that water. I like to use waterless cooking. I put my vegetables in the pot in the tiniest little bit of water on a low heat. You need a nice heavy bottomed saucepan, and keep the lid on, and you create a little oven in there. And by the time the vegetables are cooked, there is no water left. That's what I like to use. If there is a little bit of water left, save it and put it into your lentils, put it into another dish, because there's your minerals. So make sure you keep those minerals. Organically grown fruits and vegetables have a far higher mineral content compared to conventionally grown fruits and vegetables. Let me give you an example. An organic tomato will give you 9 times the iron content as a conventionally grown tomato. So even though the organics might seem a little bit more expensive to you, I believe they're not really when you consider the mineral content that you're getting there. So this is where we can get these minerals. Unfortunately, today people are taking things that are leaching minerals. So we need to stop the mineral leachers, and that is refined sugar. One writer stated that sugar leaves the body better dressed than when it went in. I'm referring to the pure crystallized acid extracted from the sugarcane plant. Honey and maple syrup, I guess technically they're a type of refinement, but they're not refined to the point that there's nothing left but the pure acid. So if you do use a sweetener, please use your honey and use your maple syrup, but not the refined sugar. Because it is so naked when it comes into the body, it leaves your body with your minerals, dressed with your minerals. Also caffeine. Caffeine disrupts the neurotransmitters in the brain. Caffeine is toxic to the body, and it also is well known to leach especially the calcium and the magnesium out of the body, and your heart needs those 2 minerals to pump efficiently and effectively. All all poisons, all poisons, so that includes chemicals, drugs. They are all toxic to the body, and basically the body sends its minerals to clothe it to try and make it a little bit safe, so it's not going to totally harm the body. So these are the things must stop. Calcium cannot get into the body by itself. It needs vitamin D. So vitamin D is also important for strong, healthy bones. So where do we get vitamin D? It's the sunshine vitamin. Ultraviolet rays from the sun hit the skin and they convert a form of cholesterol just under the skin to vitamin D. Vitamin D is essential for the assimilation of calcium in the body. Now, why am I mentioning calcium by itself? Calcium is called the king, and because it's called the king, it's been misunderstood. It's called the king because when calcium gets into the body under the action of vitamin D, it pulls all the other minerals on the back with it. It does not strengthen the bones to take calcium supplements. You are now putting a mineral in that can cause an imbalance in the body. And it's usually calcium in a way that is not able to be absorbed properly by the body, so it can contribute to the build-up of kidney stones, gallstones. So it's better to take calcium the way God meant us to take calcium, is in balance with all the other minerals, which you will find in your vegetables, especially your dark green leafy vegetables. You see, vegetables are high in fibre, high in minerals and low in sugars, whereas fruit, it does have some minerals, but not as much. Fruit is high in fibre, high in sugars and low in minerals. And that's why God meant us to eat a variety. I like to have my fruit at breakfast. I have fruit with usually a grain, maybe a legume, some nuts and seeds, and I have vegetables at lunchtime. Fruit and vegetables in the stomach can cause a little bit of a war because fruit is so high in sugars and the minerals are low in sugars. So ideally, as a rule, we try and keep the fruit at one meal and the vegetables at another. So vitamin D, how do we ensure that we're getting adequate amounts of vitamin D? The ultraviolet rays from the sun. So let's look at how this happens. From the sun, and particularly the UVB rays. So the sun's UVB rays hit the skin. So there's a couple of things that have to be present here. We have to have exposure to the sun, especially the UVB rays. Glass stops the UVB rays, and sunscreens stop the UVB rays. So those UVB rays have to touch the skin, okay? So that's one of the requirements. And just under the skin, there's a form of cholesterol. And this form of cholesterol is what the body uses to convert to vitamin D. So here's another thing that must be present, and that is good amounts of cholesterol. If someone's on cholesterol-lowering medication, they can have a deficiency in cholesterol and maybe not be able to make adequate vitamin D. What should our cholesterol levels be? They should be about probably between 190 and 300. One lady said, no, Barbara, the doctor said my cholesterol levels are 240 and that's dangerous. I said, well, it's not quite right. 40 years ago, if you had a cholesterol level 300 or under, that was perfectly safe. They dropped the levels to try and prevent heart disease, but it's made no difference at all. And the people that are put on cholesterol-lowering medication, it's not helping either. Heart disease is still the #1 killer. And the side effects of cholesterol-lowering medication are Alzheimer's, dementia, muscle wasting, memory loss, and they've just added another one, and that's breast cancer, because our sex hormones are made from cholesterol. No wonder Dr. Malcolm Kendrick, in his book The Great Cholesterol Con, no wonder he said for the first time normal levels of a normal vital body substance is being called a disease. That's cholesterol. If you read that book, he's scathing on this theory. We need the cholesterol. You see what he called it? A vital body substance. We need it to make our sex hormones. We need it to be able to make vitamin D. Our brain needs it. It protects our cells against environmental poisons. We need it. So what has to be present? We have to have exposure to our skin has to have exposure to the sun, particularly the UVB rays, and we also have to have adequate amounts of cholesterol in our body to make the vitamin D. If we don't have adequate vitamin D in our body can't utilize and absorb the calcium and all the other minerals. So here's another reason why bones are deteriorating, not only because people aren't having the minerals, not only because people are taking things that are leaching the minerals, but they're vitamin D deficient. So how do we get the vitamin D? We go out in the sunshine. But remember this, if you have a shower and wash your body with soap, and go out and lay in the sun, you won't get vitamin D because we need to have that oil developed on the skin. So if you have a shower, you need about 2 hours before the oils start to develop on the skin. And once you've had exposure to the sun, don't go and have a shower and wash yourself with soap because it takes approximately 2 hours for that skin to develop the vitamin D. Now it's quite okay to be lying at the beach and get up and dive in the sea and come out because you're not washing with soap. So that's perfectly fine. So how long should we be out in the sun? Well, depends on your skin and depends on the country you're in and depends on the time of day. I've got white skin, so I have to be cautious. So when Michael and I had a holiday in Cairns recently, Cairns is right at the top of Australia, I laid out by the pool every day and I had my watch. 15 minutes front, 15 minutes back, under the umbrella. Because if I stayed out any longer than that, my skin would burn. I did it morning and I did it night. We're on holidays, so we were able to do this. Within 5 days, I had a very nice tan. And now that I had a tan, we could go out into the sun a little bit longer. My tan was a UVB tan. And that UVB tan is protective, and that's the healing tan, and that's the tan that lasts. Now in Australia, all the white ladies want to have tan skin, so they go to the tanning salon and they go under these lights. But what they're getting is a UVA tan, and that UVA tan does not last as long as the UVB tan. But the sunscreens block the UVB rays. Notice what I did. I didn't use sunscreen at all. Why not? Well, I have read what's on the packet, and there's a lot of chemicals in there. For instance, zinc oxide is not toxic, but when they make it into nanoparticles, it becomes toxic. Now it gets through the blood-brain barrier. In fact, that's one of the reasons, one of the big contributing factors that Australia's losing its Great Barrier Reef. My son was with a guide up Airlie Beach, that's right up the top of Australia, going out to see the Great Barrier Reef. And the man who does the tours, riding the boat, my son was talking to him, and he told my son, he said, it's the sunscreens. People are putting so many sunscreens on, it's getting into the water. Those nanoparticles are getting into the marine life and destroying it. It's not the only factor, but it certainly is a contributing factor. So I'm not interested in putting those on my skin. I also know that my skin does 3 things. It absorbs anything I put on it, it will absorb, and it will go through to the blood. It also breathes, so I want my skin to breathe, but my skin also is throwing off waste. So I'm cautious as to what I put on my skin. I'm cautious as to the clothes I put on my skin, that they are natural fibre, because my skin is absorbing. When I used to take my children to the beach when they were little, they all had to have 4 hats, 4 t-shirts and 4 pairs of shorts. Right at the beginning of the day, they could run around without their t-shirt on when the sun wasn't so strong. But by 10 o'clock, they're putting a t-shirt on. And when it got all wet and heavy, then they'd put another one on. But of course, today you've got rashy shirts. But I say to parents, let your children have some sun early morning and late afternoon, because if they constantly have rashy shirts on, it's going, well, obviously no UVB rays can get through there, but also remember we need the UVB rays to get our vitamin D. So be wise with the sun. If you've got dark skin, you need a lot more sun. Very dark skin needs 10 times the exposure to sun that I need. Our exercise coordinator, Howard, he's Dutch Indonesian and his wife is English Samoan. They've got 2 boys, so they have dark skin from both sides. It's not really, really dark, it's probably mid-dark. Well, they mow the lawn with no shirt on, and they've got these most beautiful golden tan skins. That tan gives a protection against the sun. Well, what about skin cancer? Well, we've been living under the sun for thousands and thousands of years. Skin cancer only really appeared when people started being exposed to chemicals. Absolutely, if you burn your skin 6 to 10 times in your lifetime, you can double your risk of skin cancer. Burning the skin damages the skin, absolutely. So if you're going to be out in the sun for long periods, please wear a hat and please cover with long thin cotton shirts, long thin skirt or long skin pants. But you have to protect that skin against being burnt when the sun is in the highest part of the day. That's when it's the hottest, and it's actually the most uncomfortable to be out there. That's common sense. So that's what we need to get our vitamin D. If vitamin D levels are low, that person may need to take a vitamin D supplement initially to get it up. In fact, I do suggest you aim for higher than the recommended daily allowance, because vitamin D is essential in the body. There are 2,500 receptor sites on the DNA for vitamin D. You can't heal without it. But we're talking about bones. If you want strong bones, you've got to get that vitamin D. Your bones need to be strengthened. So this is what else bones need. They need strength. And strength comes, the most powerful strength exercises or weight-bearing exercises are defying gravity exercises. So when you defy gravity, your body uses its strength to defy gravity. And that builds muscle and it also builds bone. Rebounding is one of the best strength or weight-bearing exercises there is, because as you're leaping off the rebounder, you're using your whole body weight. So you're using your body weight as your weight-bearing. And the beauty of the rebounder is there's no jarring. So when you hit the mat, there's no jarring. You get a bounce and up you go again. So constantly, when you're bouncing on that mat, your muscles, your bones, in fact every single part of your body, nothing is exempt by the effect of the rebounder. So we should be doing weight-bearing exercises. For your biceps, you jump with your palms down. For your triceps, you jump with your arms up. So not only your muscles, but your bones are strengthened by the rebounding. So rebounding every day, in fact no day should be exempt. I endeavour to exercise every single day. And the beauty of the rebounder, it's in your lounge room, so rain, hail or shine outside, you can still be rebounding, doing your strength exercises. Bones get strong through use. What's also important, and this one might surprise you, is balanced hormones. There are many people today with an imbalance in their hormones. And there is a reason for this. Why would the hormones be out of balance? In fact, you can Google my name and hormones and you'll get the whole presentation of it. So I'll just give you a quick summary now to show the role that it plays in osteoporosis. Things like plastics, glyphosate, environmental poisons, contraceptive pill is one of the worst. What they do is they cause a disruption to the hormones. Another one is plastics. These are all have estrogens in them. and they cause the estrogen levels in the body to rise. Now there are two hormones in the body. One is progesterone, and it's the precursor, or the king, and it balances all the other hormones, one being estrogen. And when estrogen goes high, it displaces progesterone and causes progesterone to come down low. And progesterone is the hormone that boosts bone-building cells. Those bone-building cells are called osteoblast cells. Osteo, bone, blast is new. So it's the osteoblast cells that are building new bone. And when progesterone's displaced, that person has lost their hormone that's going to boost their bone-building cells. So it's important to balance the hormones. In my hormone lecture, I talk about the Anna's Wild Yam Cream. The Anna's Wild Yam Cream is an Australian cream, but it is sold in the US. I know that Eden Valley Health Retreat and also Living Springs Health Retreat both sell the Anna's Yam Cream. This cream, when it's applied to the skin, it stimulates the pathways in our bodies that our bodies use to make progesterone. So when that progesterone starts to rise, it automatically brings all the other hormones where they should be, which is good news. So progesterone is the hormone that stimulates bone-building cells. We are subject today to so many environment poisons that are disrupting the hormones. Plastics, the herbicide glyphosate or Roundup, and if you're not eating organic food, you can just be about assured that the food you're eating has been tainted with that. Even the clothes that we're wearing, so the chemical clothes really are made out of polyester, nylon and acrylic, especially ladies. Many ladies' pretty underwear, negligees, their sleeping garments, their bras, their underwear, their petticoats are made out of these plastic fibres. The good news is you can get beautiful underwear that's made out of natural fibre. So we're looking at cotton, modal. Modal is a fabric that's spun from the birch tree, the cellulose of the birch tree. Also viscose and rayon are natural fibres. You can get, I know we have seen bras made out of bamboo, also hemp. So have a look. Now some of the underwear will be made out of mostly natural fibre with a little bit of elastane or a little bit of polyester. I don't worry about a little bit. So the stockings I have on at the moment, they're made out of bamboo. So if you search around, you can get these natural fibres. When a lady is wearing these natural fibres, especially when she's exercising and she gets hot, her pores open and she starts to absorb the chemicals from those fabrics. Whenever I go into a shop, I always go straight to the label. What are these clothes made out? What are they made out of? Become label readers. Yes, have your glasses or your magnifying glass with you. And eliminate as much as possible your exposure to plastics. Try and drink out of glass bottles or stainless steel bottles. You can get plastic that does not have the hormone disrupting chemicals in it. Look for BPA free. The BPA is bisphenol A, and the phenol, that's the estrogen mimicker. So keep your eye out for that. So we're going to look, stop here, stop also plastics. And plastics comes in many ways. I think it's impossible to eliminate plastic, it's just everywhere, but as much as possible, try and eliminate your body's exposure to it. Something else that this is in the stop one. So we've got another stop one. And this is the silent killer, this one. So this is causing a weakening of bones without people even realizing it, because it's the silent killer, and that's electromagnetic field excess. The electromagnetic field excess is the dirty electricity that is coming off the devices. We are electrical people. There's a spark of electricity in every cell. Our bodies run according to certain frequencies. And that's a totally different frequency that's coming off the devices. Now, obviously, we can have a little bit of exposure. The problem more lies when it's on our bodies. I wonder how many hip replacements are going to start happening because of people putting their devices in their back pocket. We're already seeing breast cancer in the ladies who as young girls used to wear their phone in their bra, and I know you can get by sports bras today that have a pocket there so that you can put the phone in the bra. Please keep it away from your body as much as possible and protect the family jewels. The worst place for the laptop is on the lap. We're getting guys with low sperm count, inability to hold an erection, and this is in their 30s and 40s because in their teens and early 20s that laptop was on the lap. Also girls who, in fact the current figures are girls that had laptops on their laps when they were adolescent, teenagers, early 20s, they're getting into 30s now. 47% miscarriage in the girls that used the laptop. So their eggs were being affected as they were developing because of this electromagnetic field, this dirty electricity. Make sure your bedroom's free, but particularly looking at bones, you do not want that device on your body or ideally near your body. Keep it away from the body. Or you can buy, and I showed in another demonstration, my phone has a safe sleeve on it, and it's a device that blocks the electromagnetic field coming out of it. So that's another silent killer that is also weakening bones. You might be surprised at the next one, and this is another stop, so we're going to do another stop here, but I'm devoting the whole one to it because this is something that most people think is going to strengthen their bones, is the dairy. Now, cow's milk is excellent milk for baby calves. That's it, baby calves. But you look at the size of the cow's bones, and the cow's not getting its calcium from milk. It's getting its calcium from the grass that it's eating, because what does the grass have? The grass has the minerals, and this is what the dark green leafy vegetables are high in, the minerals. And remember, we just looked at the fact that bones aren't made of calcium, they're made of a whole lot of minerals. But I want to show you why the dairy is particularly bad with bones. This is a glass of milk, and it is high in protein, and it is high in calcium. There's no doubt about that. But remember, cows have 4 or 5 stomachs, and those stomachs are needed to break down that calcium. This animal protein is very dirty burning fuel. Only 58% is burnt as fuel. So what that does is that leaves a 42% waste. And that waste is a high acid waste. It's an acid sulfur waste. And when we looked at our acid alkaline balance in the body, we looked at how the body tissues should be alkaline. The only part of the body that should be acid is the stomach. And so when this protein breaks down, it is dumping a whole lot of acid waste in the body, which must be neutralized. So the calcium in the milk is used to negate the sulfur residue, because calcium is the most alkaline mineral, and this leaves no calcium left for our body. The countries in this world that have the highest incidence of osteoporosis are the highest dairy consumers. You have a look at the elephants, the giraffes. In fact, the biggest bone creatures on the planet are vegetarians. They're getting their minerals from the plants, and that's what strengthens their bones, not the cow's milk. But something else can happen here. Let's say the person's having a glass of milk, but they're also having a steak. There's more sulfur residue, not enough calcium in the milk to negate all that sulfur residue. So where is the calcium going to be taken from now? It'll be taken from our bones. And that's why the dairy must stop. We're the only creature that drinks milk past babyhood. And we're the only creature that drinks another creature's milk. People say to me, what milk do you drink, Barbara? I say, I'm wind. I eat food. I have teeth. There's no need for milk anymore. So stop the dairy. Now, if you're a dairy lover and you've been a dairy farmer all your life and your parents were dairy farmers and their parents were dairy farmers, then it's quite possible that you can handle it a little bit better. But the best way to have it, if you are a dairy farmer and having it, is cultured. So as your yogurts, your feta cheeses. In fact, traditionally, all through the northern countries in Europe, that's how they preserved the milk. And it certainly is more digestible. You're almost getting it to the point of where the 5 stomachs of the cow gets it to. But there is really no need for it, because a plant-based diet has all the nutrients that we need. And yes, definitely the calcium and definitely the minerals, but we're getting calcium in its balanced form with all the other minerals. I'd like to look at one other point, and that is teeth. Teeth are the only exposed bones in the body. And just as if a bone breaks, it'll heal, teeth can heal. Holistic Dental is a book written by Nadine Artemis. And Nadine Artemis, she presents some fascinating things. She looks pretty much at what I've looked at here, but she goes a little bit further with the teeth, which are the only exposed bone in our body, and they should not be deteriorating. And if they do have a little decay, they have the ability to heal themselves, as every other body tissue does. So why aren't they healing? Maybe they haven't been given the right times, or they have not been given the right conditions. And she calls these 2 superfluids. So what are your 2 superfluids? And these 2 superfluids are constantly bathing the teeth and nourishing the teeth. One is the internal. So the internal fluid would be your blood and your lymph. And remember what the lymph does, it sweeps away waste from the tissues. And remember what the blood does, it comes along with the nutrition, it comes along with the oxygen, it comes along with the water, the white blood cells. So this internal fluid is bathing from the inside. And your external fluid is your saliva. Now both the internal fluid and the external fluid, their quality is totally dependent on fresh air, sunshine, not taking anything in that will harm it, going to bed early, exercising every day, having a nourishing diet, having food that has the quality, the ingredients to build a healthy body, drinking adequate water. If you don't drink adequate water, that saliva does not have the ability to bathe, soothe, nourish and heal. And also trust in divine power. Why trust in divine power? Trust in divine power takes into consideration stress, takes into consideration the spiritual, emotional and mental aspects of disease. Stress inhibits healing. Stress, worry, anxiety interrupts with all body processes, and I think that's not a surprise to anyone. So we need to be sure that our internal and external fluids are of the top quality to allow our teeth to heal. But something else that is causing teeth to deteriorate, and that is food caught between the teeth. As one dentist said, only floss the teeth that you want to keep. And I'm going to take your minds way, way back to another lecture where I talk about the true cause of disease. And remember I talked about whenever damage happens, our own microorganisms can change into bacteria and become the cleanup team. Well, when food is caught between the teeth, it basically starts to rot. So what happens then is what causes it to rot is in that moist environment. You've got so many microbes in your mouth, they're coming along to clean it up. And as the bacteria and the yeast start to break down that food between the teeth, they give off a waste, and that waste has the ability to start eating away at the enamel on the teeth. So make sure after every meal you rinse your mouth. Rinse your mouth very well. You can rinse it with seawater. You can rinse it with a mixture of sodium bicarbonate water and floss those teeth. Keep them clean. Wow, won't we save a fortune not having to go to the dentist because you're keeping your teeth clean, especially before you go to sleep at night, because by morning, wow, those microorganisms have had a party in there. And they've been able to have a lot of food in between those teeth, and they also have the ability to damage those the dentine that covers the teeth. So very important to rinse, very important to floss. In fact, both of these are even more important than cleaning with a toothbrush, but also oil pull. What's oil pulling? So oil pulling is using coconut oil. It's putting the oil in your mouth and it's swishing. You swish, swish. You might swish for 10, rest for 10, swish for 10 seconds, rest for 10 seconds. It's called oil pulling because it can pull waste out of the tongue. It can pull waste out of the glands under the tongue. It can pull waste out of the blood vessels under the tongue, and then you release that oil out on the grass. Don't release it down the plug hole or you'll plug up your plumbing. And take some water with you and rinse again and release that out. So and I'm speaking about dental health here because teeth are part of the bones. Well, they are bones. So the same thing applies to the teeth as applies to all the bones in your body. Teeth should not be deteriorating, and it's expensive business, dentistry, isn't it? And remember, if you have a little bit of decay, then it's important that you rinse and floss after every meal, that you oil pull maybe a couple of times a day. Just be mindful that keeping that mouth clean will prevent tooth decay and also encourage tooth healing. But the healing of the tooth comes from the superfluids, the internal blood and lymph, and the external fluid. And again, their quality is totally dependent on the food you're eating, how much you're drinking, going to bed early. So all of these things. Sugar is one of the worst. Because you know what sugar does? It just feeds all those little microbes that are breaking down the things that are caught between your teeth. So those sugary drinks are particularly damaging to the teeth. One of the best things to eat is an apple. Your teeth and your mouth need crunchy things. So with a refined diet today, there's hardly any crunch, have you noticed? But apples require you to crunch, and when you crunch, that is strengthening the teeth, it is strengthening the jaws, it is strengthening the gums. No wonder the old saying says an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So get used to crunchy things. Every day we should have salad. So at lunchtime we always have a salad. Celery is particularly good, and carrots at crunching in the mouth. Children love raw carrots. Cucumbers, all of those crunchy foods, they're strengthening the gums, strengthening the teeth, and they are also strengthening the jaws. This explains why breastfeeding is so important for children, because for babies, because when babies breastfeed, it takes a lot of work to get the milk out of the breast, but that hard work that the baby does, it strengthens the jaw. It causes the roof of the mouth to form properly with that tongue pressing against it, and it gets that jaw ready for the teeth to come through. So when you look after your bones, you are also looking after your teeth. Number 8, sleep. We need 8 hours every night. When we have 8 hours every night while we're sleeping, there's a cleansing happening, there's a filing system happening, there's a consolidation of all the things that we learnt through the day is happening. Sleep is of vital importance. It is underestimated in our fast society today, with most people being kept away by the devices till late at night. Please ensure that you go to sleep early every night. And those vital fluids needed for the cleansing and the renewing of the teeth, we must be having 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. 8 to 10 glasses of water in the 24-hour period ensures that your bones are getting everything they need, your teeth are getting bathed from the inside and out, and really all our bones are getting bathed by the blood and the lymph as well. So it's of the absolute importance that we be having 8 to 10 glasses of water every day. It must be pure water, best taken in little by little by little, and remember, before every glass of water have that little crystal of Celtic salt. When these basic principles are implemented, it will ensure us that we have strong bones. If we don't have strong bones, this is how you can get strong bones. If you've already got strong bones, you will keep your strong bones. So please do what you've got to do to keep those bones strong.